Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I am not gonna lie to you, I'm having a difficult time getting motivated today. I mean, I'd like to be Mr. Positivity 106% of the time, but that's just not real life. My neck and back have been out this morning. I'm having a hard time deciding what it is that I need to do today. You know, all the usual stuff. So one project that I have not gotten to yet that's overdue is building a large, or I should say at least a deep, 2.5 inch deep chopping knife, 8 inch long blade. My customer wanted it specifically for chopping cabbage, so it's gonna be a really cool Damascus blade, but I have to build it. So anyway, let's turn the forge on and start heating this thing up and hopefully loosen up a little bit. This big chopping knife, the blade I need to be 2.5 inches deep or tall. So the first thing I need to do is widen this material out, and I'm going to use the round dies on the forging press to do that, and that's going to work. It's going to work really well. I've got how wide is it right now? It's 1 7/8, so it's not too far away. And accounting for material loss as we go, probably going to widen this out to at least 2 3/4. See how far we can actually get with the propane I have left. I'm due for a propane run. Those are my empties over there, and this one is pretty close to being empty. While we're waiting for the forge to heat up, here's our seax. Haven't touched the edge. So let's see how it fares on a piece of antler. I'm trying to be careful not to hit the vise. It's a little duller. I'll give it that. I think there was some antler stuck on the edge. Actually, it's not. It's a little duller. You can see the edge there. No deformation whatsoever. No bright spots. I'm pretty happy with that. It's all in the heat treat, guys, and the forging, and the blade geometry. Guys, I'm up in the ante here. So right now we're at a 2x4 twice in an antler, and it's starting to get a little dull, but it still slices through paper. So you can see that here. Sorry. So now we're gonna go with a horseshoe with the mill scale cleaned off, because we don't want to put that in there, but mild steel horseshoe. We've wandered far from the realm of legitimate knife use, but we're going to press on. I think that finally made it dull. You can see shiny spots now. Yeah, it doesn't really want to cut the paper now, but that's to be expected. And we're back. It really was not hard to put an edge back on at all. That's one of the nice things about a steel like 5160, presumably. This is actually a really great moment to talk about what it is that makes a knife hold an edge well. Okay, guys. I'm adjusting my expectations for today's video. Yeah, it's not loosening it up. Took some ibuprofen earlier this morning. And yeah, so I just decided that today's video is going to be about metallurgical theory and stuff. So I'm going to go make a fresh cup of coffee and then sit down and talk a little bit about what it takes to make a good blade. Alright guys, I'm in the house here where I can be appropriately invalidic. I don't know if that's a word or not, but I want to talk briefly, if possible, about what it takes to make a blade or a knife that will hold a good edge. Now, obviously you could talk about this for days, and that's not what's going to happen in this video. But I want to touch on a couple of high points and maybe give you some additional information or ideas for areas of research that you can do in your quest for making a good blade. So there are two main things that affect good edge holding capability on a knife. The first one is the toughness of the steel, and the second is the abrasion resistance. Toughness in the steel is important because at the microscopic level, that edge is withstanding extreme PSIs, and so the ability for that steel to hold up is crucial. The abrasion resistance is also very important because even if the steel is tough, if it doesn't withstand the basic abrasion or scraping, it's going to dull quickly. The primary way that steel achieves abrasion resistance is simply through hardness. And then additionally, as you add carbon content in a steel and other alloying elements, the formation of carbides aids greatly in abrasion resistance. So there are a few things I want to lay out for you that are important when it comes to setting yourself up for success and making a good blade. First of all, you need to understand what the knife is for. This is going to influence or speak to the type of steel you use, the design, the edge geometry, and the type of heat treat, etc. That's very important. Secondly, choosing an appropriate steel for the application, but also a steel that you can properly work with and heat treat. You can get a really good steel, but if you don't have the ability at this time to properly heat treat it, it's not going to do you much good, and really you'd be better off with a steel that you can bring the full potential out of. Thirdly, you need to look at the design for that particular knife and what it's going to be used for. And this includes blade grind, the thickness, the edge geometry, and all of these kinds of things. Obviously, an extreme example would be you could make a straight razor out of a really good piece of steel, do the heat treat properly, and then take it out and try to whittle on wood or chop something, and it's going to fail because it's not what it's designed for, and it's not what it's for. The way we achieve toughness and abrasion resistance in a blade have to do with the type of steel we choose and then how it's heat treated. 5160 is a good example of a tough steel, one with a little less abrasion resistance, and one reason it makes a good chopping knife steel, because the most important thing in that application is the ability to withstand pressure, impact. And so abrasion resistance is not quite as important. 5160, for example, has about 0.6% carbon in it, so not enough carbon to precipitate carbides, but enough to get as hard as you need a steel to get. And then it has about 0.8% chromium in it, which aids in the toughness of the steel, and that's how you get those characteristics. So once you've chosen a good steel, it's really important to understand the heat treat process that is required to make that steel perform like it should. This is where some things can get a little confusing, because if you go to the manufacturer, for example, and look at what they recommend for heat treating process, you might be a little confused because the sizes and applications of the steel that they're generally dealing with are rather different than what we do in the bladesmithing or knife making world. But there is plenty of information from other bladesmiths and books and so forth, so it's not that hard to find the proper information for heat treating your particular type of steel. And if you're just starting out making knives or forging blades, I would recommend that you start with something like 1075 or 1080 and go from there. So these are just a few things to keep in mind as you're forging or making knives. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to somebody. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment and I will try to answer that to the best of my ability. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys subscribing and hitting the notifications button. Thanks for watching and have a great day.